section to order with a roll call.
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hurt.
Here.
Gilbert. Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Pulis.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
And Mayor Tones.
Here. Are we doing the pledge here? That's also, okay, I didn't think so. But we are doing public comment. Jumping to 5, public comment. Anybody here? Nothing there? Thank you. We don't do virtual anymore, so we'll move on to the downtown Rock Island presentation. Mr. Dasso. If you want to, we had a deal, we want to make sure people introduce themselves and also explain why they're here for the recording and everything else in the future. So I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm Andrew Dasso. I am here for the Downtown Rock Island presentation for the Rebuild Grant. We have Jason McKenzie, Christina Robinson, Manushi Dayani, Saloni Sheth, all members of our team, and we'll be kind of alternating back and forth on our as we go through the slides for today. So the presentation that we're going to walk you through is we kind of expanded on the presentation that we had at the public meeting a few weeks ago. The items that we've added would be the survey results, not only from the presentation, but also from the website form, Google form. We had 423 survey responses in the 2-week time frame. A lot of things we learned from it. You'll also see we did make some tweaks to the design. One thing that was brought up several times was having an outdoor area that could be used for green space, potentially a park. You'll see where we'll kind of introduce that idea. It's all it is a rendering at this point. So here's our team. Also, your staff members, Michael Bartels, Michael Kane, Jack Colin. The local partnerships that have been part of this project from the beginning. These are the slides that we had presented. So we're going to go fast because there's 78 slides today. So, and we only have 40 minutes. We're trying to hold to 40 minutes. But this is a big one here. This is our funding, project funding, $3 million from the state of Illinois Rebuild Downtowns Grant, $2.5 million from the ARPA funds, $1.5 million from the Downtown TIF, $267,000 for the state of Illinois Tourism Grant. That's for Arts Alley, and $100,000 from Illinois Casualty Company, which is a combined total of $7.3 million. That's what the project's funded for. So when we get later in the slides, we have an estimate. You'll see the estimate's a little larger. We'll go through where areas have changed based on the development of the estimate when we began to today. And as we get through this process, we'll have our estimates will be, it's only an engineer's estimate at this point. So we'll build the construction documents with a series of alternates that'll allow for the city to maintain a budget for this project. This slide was added, and I think it was an important one that we should have added during the public meeting, but every one of these funding sources has a contributing factor to this overall project. The Rebuild Downtowns Grant had parking, Main Street, outdoor venues, a lot of things built around tourism. Obviously, ARPA, you're all aware of, water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, Downtown TIF, the state of Illinois' Arts Alley grant, which is solely for that grant. And then the Illinois Casualty Company, their $100,000 was actually for the dog park and the donation of the land for the dog park. So here's a brief slide of the extent of the project. One area that kind of we'll highlight here is, if you can see it, I'll try to highlight on both sides, but Third Avenue between 17th and 18th Street, that's an area that was added to the scope of our design work after the estimate had been developed. And we'll kind of, as we go through that design, Jason will be able to expand on what was, if anything was included in the original estimate that we had provided and what has been added, So going through the survey, this is from the public meeting. We had 76 people that were participating in the public meeting. 55 and over was the majority, or 45 to 55 and over. And then when we had the online form, the 423 responses, you'll see the responses were pretty similar as well. 55 and older made up 32%. 35 to 44 was 24, and almost 20% was the 45 to 54. During the public meeting, gender, there's 58% of female, 41% male participating. Pretty similar in the Google online forums for female to male ratio. At public meeting, we polled everyone to ask where they lived. 84% were from Rock Island. When we did the online form, 73% were from Rock Island. We, just to give us a general background of ethnicity, 80% were white or Caucasian, and then a mix of remaining 20%. We also asked on the online poll what your role is in Rock Island, whether you're a business owner, a property owner, resident, employee, or visitor to Rock Island. And you'll see most of the audience that took the poll online were residents. One reason we did this was just to kind of fact check our polling, make sure no one from China was polling our results. If you are a business owner employed, so this was just a brief. We did ask people to fill in the survey of where they worked, and this is just a snippet of the results we had. I think there were like over 100 fill-ins. But okay, I'm going to hand it off to Jason, and he's going to start going through the design.
Thanks, Andrew. So we're very excited to present these concepts tonight. You know, downtown Rock Island right now is very walkable, has some really great architecture, and then we just intend to enhance it with modernization and then add some touches of some history combined. So here we're looking at 3rd Avenue and 19th Street, and looking west. And in here on all the street projects, it'll be total reconstructive with new pavement, new sidewalk, also new storm sewer and sanitary sewer and water main. Just to let you know that all the underground will be replaced on all the road projects. So kind of in here, we're just showing like we'll also have some gateway column structures in certain areas, as you can see there next to the Pancake House. And then also Saloni will talk further about, you'll see a dining, basically a parklet structure, basically a outdoor dining structure next to the Pancake House, which we will talk further in the presentation. Here's another outdoor dining structure that would be adjacent to Huckleberry's there. Here's basically looking down 18th from 3rd all the way down to 2nd there. Shows basically new lighting, new trees with landscaping. They'll have new trash receptacles and planters. Here's kind of looking down 3rd, or down 3rd, basically from 18th to 19th. Here's basically the WHBF tower. Well, we'd like to, originally we were proposing in the initial concepts of just putting lights at the base and beaming them up. And due to the structure, it really wouldn't accomplish our goal as far as getting it lit up like we wanted to. So we had to change to some LED lighting all the way up and down the structure to kind of get it lit the way we wanted to. Another thing we weren't anticipating is we'd also have to take down the antenna in order to get this accomplished. But so we'd have different colors so you could program it for different times of year, different holidays. So we think that this structure could be iconic of downtown Rock Island, make obviously a structure that is maybe an eyesore and turn it into a nice feature. Here we'll be starting at basically 18th and 3rd and going down to, 19th and 3rd and going down to 18th and then turning the corner there at 18th. So here's a aerial view of basically 2nd Avenue and 18th Street there. And there we're showing basically a roundabout there to be added as a focal point. And then over to the right, we'd be there at the Great River Plaza where it is now. We were proposing taking that out and putting in a festival street, which would be a curbless street. So it would be the same level all the way through. I'll show you another. And also here, this is basically a gateway structure at 1st and 18th Street. It basically have the columns on each side that'll have inset lighting, and then have the arch with LED lighting that says "Welcome to Downtown Rock Island, established 1843." Another thing is we'd incorporate the street lighting into that so that we wouldn't have to have a separate structure. And there's the other side of it. So here's a better rendering of what I was talking about. As you look to the right there, there's the Festival Street down there where it'd basically be a curbless street. It'd give you a lot of flexibility. We'd also have demountable bollards at the beginning of basically 2nd and 18th, and then over at 2nd and 19th that you could close down the road anytime you wanted, or you could open it back up for traffic there. It would just be one lane each way. So in the public meeting, we had kind of a mix of some people that wanted the roundabout, but there was also a lot that didn't want the roundabout. So we put it out on basically the Google Forms and asked the question, and if they're in support of the roundabout. It basically came back 63% were in favor of it, and about 37% were not. But as far as the roundabout, I mean, there's studies out there that it basically increases the safety pedestrians, and then also helps the flow of traffic there. But there's also a lot of studies out there that there's studies that they went in the beginning and had like 8 roundabouts. They did some polling, and there was like 30% of basically in favor, and then they came back a year later and then polled everybody, and it went all the way up to 70% in favor. Here's just some basically some answers, responses. I'm going to turn this over to Saloni.
So the survey question for would you like to see another playground in downtown Rock Island is a direct result of some of the comments that came up from the public meeting where people had discussed that there is one at Schwiebert Park, but is there potential to put one here? So we put it up for a poll in the public forum, and ultimately people voted that the new playground wouldn't be required here, with 65% saying no, it's not necessary. Also in the public survey feedback, some of the things that came up were need for more greenery, landscaping, public space that can kind of serve as a flex space outdoors for picnics, yoga classes. Excuse me. There were a lot of different ideas for what the green space could be used for, something that's kid-friendly. And so this is what Drew was alluding to earlier, with adding in another green space in downtown. So this would be located at 2nd Avenue and 18th Street. So this is a change from the public presentations, directly taking their feedback and trying to incorporate some of these revisions in here. So this space is currently a parking lot. We're proposing a new green lawn space here because we wouldn't need the existing curb cuts anymore. You wouldn't be driving into here. We can add additional street parking along this area. So yes, we are losing stalls, but there are also 3 lots that are almost directly north of this that are pretty much entirely surface level lots. So this space can be programmed for a variety of uses. The goal is really to just create a multi-use green space that is at the heart of downtown, because a lot of the other improvements are infrastructure related, hardscape related. This would really just provide something that's more organic and just greenery in the middle of downtown. Here is another view of it at night. So we would be looking at new play structures for the kids. You'd see some of that landscape buffering along the edges has those playscape items incorporated into it. And then in this space, we're also proposing new string lighting so that you have the new lampposts, you have the new string lights, and just makes it a space that's very visible and also increases the level of safety in this area. Just another view of the green lawn. Could be casual setup for picnics, anything like that. WHBF tower in the background there as an anchor. Originally, we had located this Rock Island block lettering sign that would be at the roundabout at the corner there. Since it would create a little bit of issues for maintenance, for snow plowing, things like that, to have something like this right up against the roundabout. It has since been removed and relocated to where that green space is. And really, that green space just creates a nice backdrop now for the signage. With Quad City Arts and murals all over downtown, and just bringing in more of the arts through Arts Alley in downtown, We were thinking that something like this would be a nice placemaking signage initiative and ties in the colors of Rock Island's logo, ties in the map of the city of Rock Island as well. Just another view from a different angle of that signage during the daytime. And then facing east here down 2nd Avenue. So moving further down 2nd, Jason had talked a little bit earlier about outdoor dining structures for local businesses. So along 2nd and really sprinkled throughout downtown, we'd be looking at parklet fencing to create these outdoor dining structures. They'd be tied to a local business for additional seating space for them to expand and really just provide a way to support small business owners and give them a dedicated space to grow into with additional customers coming in. So with these planters, we're proposing something with durable materiality that withstands weather, located on the widened sidewalks that would be on 2nd Avenue between 18th and 19th, or can be built into parking stalls and provide additional seating that way as well. By incorporating planters, landscaping, we can create a little bit of a buffer between car traffic because 2nd Avenue would have one lane going each direction, and then have a landscape buffer, and then you have your dining space there. And these would be illuminated at night because you'd have the adjacent new light posts and the string lighting as well. That would be over 2nd. So with these parklet fencing structures, the goal is for restaurants and business owners to have the freedom to be able to set up the spaces however they want to, whatever fits best for their audience, but provide a consistent aesthetic as you walk down 2nd Avenue with all of these looking consistent the whole way down. In the public meeting, we had polled for if anybody was visiting a dining establishment downtown, how likely they would be to use one of these structures for outdoor seating. Between very likely and somewhat likely, we got 96%, so it was pretty heavily in favor. And then on the online poll, we split up the question for owners of businesses versus patrons of businesses. And for owners, we were looking at around 75% with very likely and somewhat likely combined to use these. And for visitors, we had around 85%. So it kind of reinforced what we had gathered from the public meeting. So looking at an overview of 2nd Avenue, string lighting over the street, you have one lane vehicular traffic in each direction here. So this would be like in front of the Starcrest building. You have the wider sidewalks on both sides. These would be 25, 30-ish feet on either side, and with that gives room to be able to program those spaces, provide outdoor dining in those spaces, and bring a more vibrant presence to this area. And with that, because the area is still able to be used by cars, you're getting additional traffic through the space, but no long-term parking along this stretch. It's really intended to balance the car traffic and the pedestrian and keep a separation between the two as well. So with the widened sidewalks, these would be able to host a variety of events. This is on the side of the Starcrest building in that alley there, just showing a potential for pop-up stages that could be tucked into the alley here, maintaining string lighting down the alley as well to draw people in, keep a consistent aesthetic throughout downtown with some of these design elements that we'd be repeating throughout the space. So just another view showing small concerts, various programming that can take place in here. And again, you'll notice the WHBF tower in the background really serves as an anchor regardless of where you are in downtown. And here we're also looking at murals that could be sprinkled throughout 2nd Avenue, throughout downtown, to just tie in the arts. It doesn't have to be limited to just Arts Alley. It'd be nice to see it kind of flourish all throughout downtown. So we have a walkway, or a walkthrough here, showing the gateway from the gateway to 2nd Avenue. So in the public meeting, we asked how likely are you to visit Second Avenue if these designs are incorporated, and 87% said very or somewhat likely to visit. And then asked the same question on the public survey to make sure we were getting feedback from as wide of an audience as possible. And then again, in here, we got around 85% saying very likely or somewhat likely. I'll pass it off to Drew to give a little bit more information on the outdoor markets.
All right, so another aspect to the design is providing for outdoor markets throughout downtown, along Second Avenue, and kind of expanding on what we can provide at, you'll see at Arts Alley, there's a few outdoor vendor stalls that to provide that incubator space for businesses. So give you an example of having somebody that can provide for a business for a stall may turn into a business in a storefront, which may turn into a business as a building. So trying to create that ecosystem of incubation. These outdoor markets can not only be for farmers markets, but they can also provide for clothing and other pretty much anything you can sell that doesn't require refrigeration, or but that even happens with Meathead's meat market at farmers markets. But plants and vegetables aren't the only thing. Another view, I guess the big thing to take away is that we're hoping to provide a space that is inviting and an experience during the day and as well as at night. So another view. Okay, and here's another animation of the markets. Okay, so same thing, we polled the audience at the public meeting. 60, now I watched Saloni do the addition here, but most everybody was in favor of it, 85. Same question for the online poll. Again, over 85% were in favor of having markets downtown.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna go through the dog park here as far as, so there's an empty lot right at 3rd and 20th there that this dog park will be, that's the location of it. The creation of this dog park, dog parks promote walkable neighborhoods and then enhance a sense of community of individuals walking their dogs. The dog park would increase, foot traffic in the area. So this would be a great amenity to the whole downtown. So here we're looking at basically the corner of 3rd and 20th, basically looking to the southwest. It has so kind of the features here would be the sign here at the corner with the lights around with the string lighting. There'll be some shade structures. There'll be some drinking fountains. One unique feature of this dog park would be to reduce maintenance, would be to add basically this would be like a synthetic turf, a specialized synthetic turf for dog parks. And so this wouldn't have to be mowed. It would basically be, just have to be rinsed down a few times a year and disinfected. So that would be a great advantage of putting in the synthetic turf, the dog park synthetic turf. As you can see there in the background, also part of this project would be to work with Quad City Arts as far as getting a mural in the background. It's budgeted into this project. There's just another, and then there'll be a few obstacles in the middle with some trees also scattered in there for some shade, with also some shade structures. And some benches. One thing also that was kind of a add-on right there was basically to mirror the parking that is basically on the other side of the street, and basically put it on this side of the street to put in parking for the dog park, and then also redo the sidewalk around the perimeter. Also, in the left-hand side, part of this project is in the budget is to basically redo that alley, basically between 19th and 21st there, or 20th, excuse me, there on the south side of the project there. There's just another aerial view. So I'll turn this back over to Saloni to basically to talk you through Arts Alley.
Okay, so Arts Alley is located between 17th and 18th Street along 2nd Avenue. So the alley that you're seeing on the left side of the screen there. So this is showing the connection from 2nd into that alley space. And we look to maintain similar string lighting overhead to be able to draw people in, and again, keep that look consistent the whole way through. With Arts Alley, we are proposing doing stained concrete along the ground to be able to bring people in, move them through the space, the colors tying into Rock Island's logo again. The murals here that we're showing are just placeholders. We'll be working with Quad City Arts to actually to create those, and then adding in designed elements throughout the space as you walk down, which we'll talk a little bit about in a minute, to just give people a reason to come in, move through the space, support the small businesses that'll be located in here as well, and just provide new ways for the community to be able to use this space. So looking north in Arts Alley, we have entry signage on both sides. The same thing that you're seeing on the left will be on the right, to have it be an entrance, like focal point as you are walking down 2nd and bring people in. And then adding in structures along both sides of the buildings there to support an outdoor gallery, essentially, of artwork that can be changed out seasonally, annually, however the city and Quad City Arts see fit. There's also potential in this area to do movie screenings and host more interactive events like that. With the vendor stalls that Drew had talked about earlier, providing a space for artists and local smaller businesses to be able to promote their work and just give them a space to grow. Things like this vendor stall would be able to give visibility to smaller businesses. And then the intent with these is to have different vendors or creators in the spaces throughout the holidays to be able to switch them out, bring new people in, and keep a changing audience coming into the space in these incubator stalls. With these, we're also looking at adjustable interiors with the mounting, the shelves, to be able to display a variety of different things, for example, pottery or paintings, things like that. And then with them being seasonal stalls, we just wanted to throw in an image here of wintertime potential use. With these, they'd be heated and cooled, so envisioning some sort of a Christmas market in here as a temporary structure. With Arts Alley trying to incorporate more interactive pieces, we incorporated this play structure, I guess you can call it, for kids, such as this puzzle activity, creating a space for younger audiences to come here, not just for adults or for parents, but wherever their kids go, parents will follow. So this shows the Rock Island postcard, the iconic postcard on one side, and then on the other, we're proposing something like Irma Renee Cohn's artwork. She was the artist who used to have a studio on in this alley before that building was demolished. So just try and find ways to bring in local history and tie that into Arts Alley because there's so much history in this area. On the north side of the alley, so this is facing south, we would be looking at incorporating green wall type space. That could be a backdrop for smaller performances. If there is any sort of event happening in Arts Alley, be a good place to have some music going and just new ways to bring people into the space. And then you'll also see along the bottom here removable bollards, so if there are any food trucks or larger sculptures that need to be brought in, anything like that, you have the potential to be able to work with that in the space and make it work for you. So now we have a quick walkthrough of Arts Alley. So we have the outdoor gallery of paintings along the walls, murals along overhead, the string lighting that crosses over the top, vendor stalls as well. And then we asked in the public meeting, how likely are you to visit Arts Alley if these designs are incorporated? Got 86% very likely or somewhat likely. So now we will talk a little bit more about overall concepts for Rock Island.
All right, so we had polled 423 people in the forum. Roughly 250 were positive responses. We had about 40 that were not related, and the remainder were negative responses. There are a lot of comments. I'm sure they're all available to you if you want to read through those. The concepts for downtown, I think we're, our hope is to bring life to downtown and create a place that is inviting throughout the day and at night, and for businesses and residents and Quad Cities. So I think throughout the comments, a lot of those are called out as the concept is developed.
So one of the things is to kind of talk through some of the design elements that will kind of carry through the downtown in the future on different phase, if more phases come, then so we're in the process of doing that. We have some that are identified and then some we're still working on to identify through the design. So like this one right here is a typical section of basically a cross section of the roadway. Basically, it'll basically be a concrete pavement and 8 inches of concrete pavement and then 6 inches of sidewalks. You'll have, depending on what street, you either have diagonal parking and basically parallel parking on one side. We will work on reducing the pavement widths to give more room for either out dining structures or other elements that maybe storefronts, you know, they want to basically put out there, you know, to sell some items or, you know, different merchandise or whatever too. So in the design process, we'll look at minimizing the roadways and expanding the sidewalk areas. Here's just kind of an aerial view of kind of what on the left side there. One thing that we have identified is the light spacing is about 50 feet apart, but on alternating sides. So basically, they'll be alternating throughout the space. As you can see there, the trees and the in-ground planters will be approximately 60 feet in spacing, whatever we can get that. Then also picture frame sidewalk, concrete sidewalk, which will be pictured over to the right. And then also the light basically what is at the parking lot, the new parking lot across the street here at City Hall. We'll be basically using that same light and basically throughout the downtown. And as far as different elements like the waste and receptacles, the planters and stuff like that, we'll basically be working through that in the design and basically coming up with kind of a standard for that. Here's the budget as far as cost estimate that we put together just after the final concepts here. So on 18th Street from 3rd Avenue to 1st Avenue, and then 3rd Avenue basically from 18th Street to 19th Street, 3.8 million. And then 2nd Avenue from 18th to 19th, about 1.2 to 1.3. And then 3rd Avenue from 17th to 18th, as we spoke before. That was basically not in the original estimates, but it's been added, and we'll put that in as an alternate bid. We'll design it and then put it as an alternate bid during construction or during bid. So then if the bids come in well, then we can bring that to council and see if they want to accept that, or we would just not include that in the construction and basically come in as basically a future phase. In the dog park, so it's around 600,000. Basically some of the parking was added, so about 34,000 of that was added for additional parking. And then with the alley around 87,000, and then Arts Alley about 569. And then at the WHBF Tower, as I spoke before, we had there was a concept before that probably wasn't gonna basically accomplish the goal. So the 332 would accomplish the goal as far as lighting up the tower and be able to program that. And then additional, as Saloni talked about, that 18th and 2nd Avenue lawn there, that was an ad basically from the public comments. And then the miscellaneous stuff is design fees, mobilization, contingency, and then also the parklets are into that 86,000 too. So for a total of 8.6, but that 8.6 includes all the 1.4 of extra. So we're about 7.2 to 7.3 of our original cost estimate, which the original one was at 7.4. So as far as the original scope, we're still real close to that 7.4. Here's a word cloud that we did during the public meeting. We asked at the end of the presentation for just one word. Just to let you know, you'll see some that don't look quite right, and what they did is they added multiple words and with spaces. So you'll see like verses or different stuff that doesn't make sense, but that's what they did. They added like multiple words. But overall, we had 99 responses, and as the word repeats, it gets bigger. And as you can see, as far as some of the larger words, exciting, creative, outstanding, ambitious, but overall, mostly positive responses there, and so.
Why didn't you say Jabberwocky?
Very good question. So at this time, I'll open it up for questions, and just wanted to thank you for your time.
I do have one. Who made the decision on Third Avenue from 17th to 18th? Was it you guys or was it the city?
That was Public Works that added that block.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When we're looking at Third Avenue, you have some renderings for some outdoor seating there, which seems to be kind of intertwined with the parking there.
Yes.
Now, to me, I guess that seems for me, that seems like a safety issue with cars parking there and trying to swerve. I mean, what was the thought process going into that, and why? How are you addressing the safety side of that with all the traffic, by sticking that basically out into the road?
Well, the speed limit in the downtown is what, 20, 25 miles per hour, 25? So overall, it's pretty slow speeds, but this has been done kind of all over a lot of cities throughout, since COVID, as far as parklets, and as far as we wouldn't have any, it would be a larger structure, but we wouldn't have any bollards or anything as far as to stop it from, as far as getting, but that we could look at maybe adding maybe a few different larger concrete elements, like on the sides, maybe, to stop it from.
Well, when I look at that, I see it as we have this, at least based on what we're looking at here tonight, you have this area of outdoor dining, and then you have surrounding it parking and people pulling in, and to me, somebody could be texting, speeding through there. I mean, I know we have a speed limit, but that doesn't,
Yeah.
I just think that poses a real threat for safety, in my opinion.
Jack wants to add
I was
some.
going to add one note. For that specific site, Jack Cullen, Executive Director, Rock Island Downtown Alliance, for those tuning in. For that specific site, it's not a confirmed location. So if the Pancake House was interested and wanted the additional outdoor seating with the dining structure, it would probably, some internal conversations have led to the idea that it would go on the 19th Street side versus the 3rd Avenue side, where Circa and the Pancake House rely heavily on that diagonal parking. So for that specific site, jury's still out on where a dining structure would go.
I think any site that's in the middle of the traffic flow there, I mean, I know you're in there.
Leclerc did it, I don't know if they're still doing it, but Leclerc did. Downtown Moline's done it in their Lagomicinos in front of Moline. They've got that exact same thing in front of Lagos.
Yeah, across the country, actually.
Cafe Fresh has got it.
These exploded across the United States, and frankly, large metros that are a lot busier than our downtown. So there's ways to, there's obviously some education that is needed. It would be new to our downtown, but there are ways to, create a structure or a barrier between the traffic or parking lanes, driving lanes, and the structure itself.
They have them in Grand Rapids, and I've eaten in one, and it terrified me. I totally opposed to it, but
I am too, so.
I've only got
it's like the 74 bridge.
one more question, because I think some other people, and I'll get mine out of the way, if that's okay. So when we look at those picture frame sidewalks that were showed up there,
Yes.
so how, as opposed to just, I don't know how those are constructed, I'm not a cement guy, but say one of those was damaged, is it much more expensive to replace that section as opposed to just a normal piece of concrete that you'd put in, a piece of sidewalk? I mean, because it's a two,
Yeah, good question. No, it's really just, so what they do is they use an edger and they edge it, like a picture frame. And so it's actually easy. So we kind of went with that because we were trying to add some flair to it versus just having just a regular sidewalk. And, but at the same time, as you can see, a lot of times if you add stained concrete or stamped concrete, and then all of a sudden you get a water main break or whatever, and then you have a piece of just regular concrete within it. So we didn't want that. So this is something that Public Works could do if anything needs to be repaired in the future or anything. So that was the one thing that we wanted to, is make sure that it kind of stand the test of time and it was able to be replaced easily.
They just did it around the new parking lot.
Yes, we
not
just
saying
did it
that, I'm
around
just
the,
kind of looking for cost as looking down the road if you were to have to, for maintenance purposes. I mean, I understand how it looks better and all that. I'm just questioning if there was something done, if that was gonna be a lot more expensive because it's a little more intricate than a standard piece of
it is a little more intricate, but overall, it's not that much more expensive than, it's a really lot cheaper than stained and stamped concrete, so we went that route.
Okay, last thing real quick, on the dog park, are there gonna be, maybe I missed this, are there gonna be waste receptacles and bags, or what's going on with that for owners to pick up their own dog's mess?
Yes, most definitely. There'll be waste receptacles and bags and, well,
That's all I have.
Go Moses.
Yeah, so wonderful presentation. Couple questions I have about food vendors. So currently we have, I think, a food vendor that comes in at night. Is that kind of included in this plan? And I'm not seeing a lot of room for food trucks or anything like that. Is that an option? I know we mentioned it on the alley, but I think that would kind of be a little congested to try to have food trucks in there along with the art. So have we any idea about food trucks and what's the current plan for the food vendors we have?
so down Second Avenue, that could be shut off, the basically between 18th and 19th Street. And we were gonna basically putting in some extra electrical receptacles and stuff down basically Second, and some electrical boxes where they can basically, food trucks could hook into or other like the outdoor market, if they need some electricity or whatever too, then they could basically hook into that. So we were gonna have like a kind of spaced out some basic outlets, but that are in boxes, and you have to, they'd have to get some assistance from Public Works, but we'd have, they'd be there if they need them.
But you said that's only if you shut down the street.
They'll be kind of just like behind the curb, well, not the curb, but there's gonna be a trench drain up and down there. So it'll be just outside of the street.
So is that a plan kind of like normally to shut down the street for food trucks where they can pull in or to set up? Or is that like special events type things? Because I guess if we're gonna have, more pedestrians walking down, we have more, I'm sure that would be an attraction. I don't know how that'll work with, the brick and mortar buildings that are there serving food. So I guess that's a conversation that needs to be taking place, but that was just one of my thoughts from just seeing the presentation. I didn't see likely where, without doing that, shutting the street down all the time,
Yeah.
how would you bring in food trucks?
Well, we didn't really plan exactly, for like a food trucks, because was trying to more for the brick and mortar, as far as getting people to go to the brick and mortar places and attract them to there versus the food trucks. But this Second Avenue can accommodate food trucks if you guys, wanted to do an event down there.
I appreciate that response. That's what I was looking for, to see if that was actually a thought.
Yeah.
So another thing was the string lights. It looked a little repetitive to me. I don't know if everyone else thought of that, but it was kind of repetitive throughout the design. Have we thought about different lighting in different areas to kind of make them like a focal point? I like the string lights over, like, where the dog park is and where the green space is off of the roundabout. But, I mean, it's like we're putting them everywhere. So it's like the whole city is going to be draped in string lights. I don't know if anyone thought about, maybe it's just me.
I kinda like the looks, it looks a little more, I don't know, I wanna use homely, but it looks more friendly or pedestrian type of, you know,
It would seem though.
walkable.
It would be
but-
very expensive to keep up unless.
Yeah, once again, I hate to do with me too, but if you go down Fifth in Moline, they've got it from, Mercado, where Mercado and Fifth is, all the way down,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's-
4 blocks, they
but-
got it, you know.
But it's just that one block. This
4
design,
blocks, it's about 4 blocks long there, but yeah.
what I'm saying though,
Road.
it's all over the place with this design. Arts Alley, the dog park, the green space, second, so I'm just.
You could also
just my
make them
thoughts.
LED and change colors. Same thing, but just different color.
You can do that.
Just
yes.
my observation, I just wondered if anyone else said this, looked
Yeah.
the same thing.
I have a little concern about the roundabout. I'm not a big fan of roundabouts. A lot of potential for a lot of accidents in that area. And I just don't know, safety-wise, I don't know if do we have the data to say, you know, is that a safe thing to do? And if it is, why don't we have them in more places in the city with more traffic? I understand we want to make this something great, and when people want to come down and look at our roundabout, I doubt they will, but they can.
I think they did studies, Mike can address that, they did, look at studies and.
It
found
is
it
an
to be safer.
actual, it is a
Yeah.
safety, I mean, it does bring down the safety because you don't have to wire actual stoplights, and it actually slows down the traffic. It forces you to slow down.
And then it reduces the width that you cross, the pedestrians cross, so the width is actually shorter than a regular crossing, so that's how it increases the safety too. But as far as the volume of traffic and everything like that, this area would be ideal for a roundabout as far as the safety aspect. You got something to add, Mike?
Along that line with the roundabout, what would the cost differential be if you did just a 4-way stop instead of, I mean, because we're looking at $1.4 million more than what we had thought, so I'm just wondering, to make up that difference, could you take the roundabout out and just put a 4-way stop in there?
As far as the cost, there's not much difference in the cost between the two options because it's mostly pavement in that area, so the difference is very minimal
Okay.
between either option. Oh,
So the roundabout is raised up,
It's like a speed bump. It's raised up, Mike, it's not very far raised up. They got a lower curb, Mike can
A
explain.
raised island.
yeah, a raised island.
And we are, to answer your question, Alderman Poulos, we are looking at other roundabouts in the city for the future. They are the up-and-coming safety measure. You're looking at removing signals at most places if you can. Install a roundabout, 35th Street West, along the expressway out by Highland Springs intersection. We're proposing that with some grant funding hopefully coming soon. We've also looked at 17th Street, 5 Points intersection, possibly. That would be a tricky one, but that's a tricky intersection as it is currently. And so we are proposing, you know, looking at that for future improvements.
Used them, man, I like them.
I mean, I agree up there.
Safe and I like them.
And I have to point out, I was at the public input meeting, Dylan came later. At the public input meeting, the people were totally against it, and I am too. I would avoid any roundabout.
And that's-
Put one at 5 Points, I gotta find another place to live.
Yeah.
That's understandable. It's because it's new. People aren't accustomed to those, but once you go through them a few times,
No,
I was in
no.
Iowa City this weekend. They're
I
all
avoid
over.
the one in Bettendorf when I have to
goofing
go
up
that
there
way,
time,
I'm
aren't we,
like,
the next
cause it,
Yeah.
I don't think it slows people down. Nothing slows people down in Rock Island.
It,
Not a
it
stop
really
sign.
does slow people down. When you come into a roundabout, you're forced to slow down. People don't obey stop signs. I mean, at that intersection that we're currently talking about, I see people blow through that intersection all the time.
That's the truth.
We gotta watch time, we got about 5 minutes at most, here, before we miss the next presentation.
Well, no, this is important,
It
because
is
we're
important.
expected to vote on this. And this is our opportunity to
Okay.
speak.
It's fine, just letting you know the next presentation.
Everybody else?
I got just a couple. It's fine. Mine hopefully are simple. I just have a question on the west side of Second Avenue. Why is that not the same as the east side? So why does this have parking on it where the other side is all? I would think that would be a disadvantage to any of those businesses on Second Avenue. What's that? No. So I'm looking at Second Avenue, so on the west side. So basically between Yeah, actually, yeah. So on the left side of this picture, the west side. So why is there parking there? Why isn't it uniform? If I were one of those businesses, I would personally want to know why I have parking in front of mine and I can't have things outside.
That's not the festival street.
Well, there's way more room for growth on that side than there is on the other side, business-wise.
Well, we didn't put parking because we were trying to maximize the spaces to put outdoor dining and different, you know, or if there's merchandise people want to sell out there, or, you know, just, we were trying to basically maximize the pedestrian space.
Okay.
Other questions? You got another one, Bill?
I would suggest in that green space, maybe look at doing turf, kind of like outside Wrigley Field, rather than mowing. I'm sure Public Works would like that, but, you know, something like that. If you've ever stayed at the Zachary down there looking out to watch them do yoga and things like that, it's kind of cool. So that might be bookable. So that's all I got. I'll let Judith go.
Any more questions over here?
Go get it, Judith. Buckle up.
No, yeah. And I won't even talk about the budget, because you're gonna bid all these pieces out differently, right?
Yeah, so
So
basically,
that then, if we're like way over budget, when the bids come back,
it's kind of like a la carte.
right, okay.
And then you could basically, we'll
Okay.
bring it back to council and then decide on what parts we want to accept and what we don't.
One waste can, recycle can per block. I know, I get so many complaints about the trash already now in downtown. Maybe one at each end at a minimum, and you might find that's not even enough. So what's the current spacing between lighting downtown? Because I've driven downtown at dusk, dark, and some streets are so dark, and for safety, security purposes, you can't have enough lighting, in my opinion. So what's the current spacing? Because you're saying every 50 feet, but it's alternating, so you're getting it from one side every 25 feet.
Yeah, I think it's, I'd have to double check, but I think it's somewhere between 80 to 100, somewhere in that,
Oh,
the
yes,
feet.
not enough.
Yeah. So we'd be minimizing that to about 50.
Okay. All right. So, park lots. I'm with, Alderman Hurt and Alderwoman Swanson on that. The ones that are in the street, I'm just like, okay, I just think that's too much of a safety issue.
I think Moline, you have to apply for it, so it is your choice
Right,
whether
right.
you want.
But so my question about it, so we're purchasing these parklets, right?
Correct.
As part of the project. And then the business has to lease it from us, right?
You want to speak on that, Jack?
I mean, that's, I mean, you
yeah, good question.
that's the general idea.
That's
right now.
that's the vision, is that as part of the recovery from COVID, the established businesses, restaurants, dining entities, those that wanted would be able to have a dedicated outdoor dining structure. The beauty of the city making those purchases is that it has that uniform design,
Yes.
look and feel, so it adds to the streetscape beautification, but it's an opportunity to expand the business out into the street and general marketing and all that
On the sidewalk, not on the street.
into the public realm.
Parking, it's in the street.
What?
If it's in the parking spots, it's in the
Yeah.
street,
Yeah,
right
right,
explicitly.
yeah, no, I.
There are certain sidewalks, including I was just going to say the proposed 25, 30-foot wide sidewalks in the 1800 block a second, obviously enough room for a dining structure to be on that. There are other sidewalks in the downtown where dedicated restaurants are established that would allow for those structures on the sidewalk. There are some, though, that don't have as wide of a sidewalk, where that's why the opportunity to look to take up a parking stall. And on the smaller scale, one parklet equals one parking stall.
I'm with her. No, but so people, the businesses have to apply for them. So, because in the old way, if you had outdoor dining, you applied for a cafe permit.
Correct.
Or something, you know, and you could put whatever you wanted out there. So that's not gonna, you're gonna have to have the same thing as everybody else. We want that consistency, right? Is that part of like, you know, establishing design elements?
Yeah, that's the vision.
That's the vision.
We can't buy, depending on all of the estimates and all the businesses that want a dedicated dining structure. We have to see how much we can afford. But the idea was that with the dining structures, we could spread the love. So even the areas that aren't seeing total reconstruction of the streets or the sidewalks or the public realm, that there could be an addition of a dining structure for a business outside of that scope of work that was presented tonight, or that scope of the project area.
Well, I'm just not for having them in the street.
Okay.
So the Rock Island sign, can you provide us with choices to choose from? Because I had mentioned this to Mike, that, I love the Rock Island sign, but I actually liked the first one that you had in the original one way back when you presented, Drew, I think. This one, I get the map concept, but it looks like just a bunch of squiggly lines. So it'd be nice to see some other choices that might be more,
That's so you can find your way around downtown.
yeah.
Yeah, we can provide options, and I think the intent behind it all is Instagram, Facebook.
Right, I love
place
it,
to
it's
take
great, yeah.
Placemaking.
Yeah, placemaking. Just wanna see something. One thing I noticed, so we got, through Alderman Parker's work, we got our downtown designated a historic district. I don't see a whole lot of historical theme type touches, though, in the downtown. Looks more modern.
So in areas like the gateway structure and, even like those, bollards that were on Third.
Could you get the microphone, please?
So, the gateway structure was an area that we, and even like the bollards on Third Avenue, where we're hoping to integrate some of the design that was actually brought to us through the, projects at the gateways of, downtown and the city. I think,
So.
He's talking about the gate.
It's just something to think about. I know the lighting, light poles, they have the historic thing, but I didn't see a whole lot elsewhere. It's just a thought. So wrap up real quick. Totally against the roundabout. So were a lot of people at that public input meeting. I just feel like we're just trying to do something hip and modern, it's like really, it makes sense if that many people were against it. I'm like, I don't get the point. The
Yeah,
other thing-
also just to make kind of a focal point, because that's kind of one of the center points of downtown, so that'd be another positive for it.
And that survey question was a biased survey question, so the results really aren't valid, in my opinion, as a former person who used to do that. Okay, dog park. Doesn't generate any revenue for the city. That should be last on the priority list. I'm not in favor of the city owning it, or having to maintain it, or having the liability for it. If Rita wants to maintain it, own it, or Illinois Casualty, fine. It's costing $600,000, we only received $100,000 for it. At the public input meeting, a lot of people said you need a separate area for small dogs. I don't know anything about it, cause I don't have dogs.
We looked at that, but due to the space not being large enough, we weren't able to separate them into two.
Well, I get that. I'm just pointing that out, and as a city steward, I don't want any more liability than we've already got.
Wouldn't that open us up to more increased liability in case of a dog bite or something,
Yep.
and that's now the city's
First person they'll sue will be us.
thought.
We can ask the city attorney later about that. Sure, some signs that would cover that.
It doesn't generate any revenue, and, okay, it's supposed to generate foot traffic, but it's not like people who bring their dogs there. You can't go into a restaurant, you
Oh, I
can't go
guarantee
into-
I guarantee you Rostocks right across the street with their window service will benefit greatly from the addition of a dog
Okay, so
park.
they're unique in that.
But there's some restaurants that allow dogs in,
Well,
but,
Bent River, they have a dog night. I mean,
and that's fine, but like, if I were to go into like Huckleberry's, and Huckleberry's was suddenly allowing dogs in there, I'd be like,
You can't even go in a hardware store now without seeing a dog.
Yeah.
Doesn't that concern anybody, though, the
Health
potential of
department,
like a
yeah.
dog bite or something?
We have a dog park now.
Yeah, we have a dog park.
We have a dog park now that doesn't separate them.
I live like 4
West Rock
blocks
Island.
from this proposed dog park. I have a dog. I would very much like a dog park at this location. And I'm sure
I
that a lot
understand,
of
but
my
doesn't that
neighbors.
seem to, doesn't it concern anybody, that potential for the liability of dog bites and things?
No.
I mean, if,
No, it does not I mean, there's ways to get around it in
It's
insurance
owned by
and
the
else,
city,
but,
that shouldn't
but the city
concern
owns
you?
one now, currently doesn't have a separation. We haven't had issues. We've had it for
Okay.
how long? Davenport's got one downtown in theirs, and don't have them separated.
Rita or
It is-
Illinois Casualty own it.
Most people who are using a dog park, I mean, they're pretty responsible.
Yeah.
If not, they're not gonna even bring their dogs there.
That's
But
right.
I understand, yeah, we do have a dog park that we've been in charge of for a very long time.
Absolutely.
With no incidents.
That's correct.
Just, I guess in closing, 'cause I know for time, but most of the elements or features that are in this design are from the 2015
I'm aware
plan.
of that.
And so that's why they've been proposed. We're trying to utilize a plan and not just sitting on the shelf. Totally understand the comments that you've brought forth tonight. Obviously, we will take those into account and come back with another presentation for the council to discuss, and maybe we'll not have a roundabout.
well, to be clear, I'll just say that there's been a lot of negative comments, and there was plenty of negative comments at the public input session. There was contrary information from the public survey, but I like this proposal. I like the dog park. I like the roundabout. I like the placemaking aspects. I like the lawn. I like it. And so for what it's worth, you have my support for this. I know that the Rock Island Downtown Alliance, I mean, so much of this is about placemaking. And the fact that we have our downtown place management organization now and this, it's the two-step. I mean, this is going to be very beneficial for downtown Rock Island. So for what it's worth, you got a thumbs up from me.
I
I
support it
think
also.
you've done a great job.
I think I support it also. The whole
on,
thing.
on what you've presented and what you had presented before, and listening and incorporating comments. I do, and just pointing out things I personally like and, or, you know, things I think need added.
Again, moving forward, we're gonna have to stay on our project timeline. We're already about a month and a half behind from what we originally proposed in April. We're about a month and a half behind, so we do need to start moving towards the final stage of construction drawings. How we get there with, you know, the concerns about the roundabout or the dog park, that will be a council decision. We're here to present these options. We can certainly eliminate some of these features, but again, we need that input from you all. And so how we move forward and how soon we can move forward to be able to still hit that construction start and bid phase in the spring of 2024 will highly depend on what we decide.
Bidding it à la carte will help, and everything else, we can work in making that decision as we go. Any other questions? We're gonna miss this, we're not gonna be able to do this next presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the people, is anybody online for this demonstration?
Jesse, are you there? He's not? Okay.
Okay. We'll have to reschedule the,
Move to adjourn.
She wants some, oh,
Second.
I was just gonna ask her if she wanted any feedback.
she's not there?
No.
Oh,
Samantha?
Samantha.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even log on.
I think Judith's the only one that's been able to get a demonstration.
No, I'm logged on.
You did too?
I
No,
lost.
no, that was C-Click.
We have a
Oh,
motion
excuse
and
me,
a second
excuse
on
me.
the floor.
With the agenda? Yeah, I'm on.
No, I'm trying to log on to Civic Plus. Yeah, I can't get on.
Yeah, I did mine today.
All right.
Yeah, I tried about 8
So
times.
we need we'll have to come back with this presentation, we need a motion to adjourn.
We already have.
You already have it in a second.
Okay, we second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, we're adjourned till 6:45.